back, everyone. My name is Dorothea Howard. I'm the host of Let's Talk Sarcoidosis. And today's guest, oh my gosh, we're going to talk nutrition today. I have Dana Magee, who is a nutritionist and a registered dietitian. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm looking so forward to talking with you today and
Absolutely.
continuing to learn about sarcoidosis and how nutrition can play a huge part in that.
Yes, I mean, we know that's a big deal. So that will lead me to my first question. What's the difference between a nutritionist and a dietitian?
Sure. So registered dietitians would have to have a bachelor's or master's degree in nutrition, food and nutrition. From there, we have to complete an internship. So it usually takes about a year of supervised practice. After that, you take an exam.
Wow.
After your exam and you pass, hopefully, you then go on to continuing education throughout the rest of your career.
Okay.
So a registered dietitian is really the go-to person for anything food and nutrition related. They're the experts on that topic. Nutritionists sometimes are dietitians, but not all nutritionists are registered. As well in the state in Maryland, you have to be a licensed dietitian, meaning that you can practice in Maryland. So you need both of those, the RD and the LD for registered and licensed.
Okay, that's a big deal.
Sure.
So what body systems are affected by sarcoidosis?
Yeah, so sarcoidosis can really affect a lot of the body systems. So mainly the lungs, and then kind of going through, it can affect the muscle, the bone, the nervous system. So pretty much all over total body, which is really why whether you have sarcoidosis or you don't have sarcoidosis, you really need to treat the whole body. So we're looking at overall total nutrition, having all of your body systems really function at optimal nutrition.
Wow, that's really good. So how can the symptoms of sarcoidosis affect nutrition?
Sure. So the big way that it can affect your nutrition is first, if it is affecting your lungs, anything that's going to cause that wheezing, that heavy breathing, the coughing, it can really increase your metabolism. So a lot of people are like, yes, let's increase that metabolism. But what you don't think about is if it's really increasing to such a level where there's unintentional weight loss, that's where we really don't want that metabolism going so high that it's difficult to maintain your healthy body weight. So if you're losing 5% of your body weight within a couple of months, unintentionally, that's where we start to get nervous. It's not a healthy way of losing weight.
No, it's not.
So we definitely want to make sure that if you are intentionally losing weight, we do that in a healthful manner. And if it's because, you can think about it, if you're heavy breathing, how much labor goes into that breathing. You're really expending a lot more energy when you're doing that. The other thing that comes into play is that's really going to tax your energy stores. So if you can think about, when you have a cough or when you have a cold, how tired you feel.
Right.
So,
oh, yes.
yeah. So imagine having that every day and, grocery shopping, preparing your foods. Even the process of eating can really take a lot of energy. And if you're not able to do that, you can, again, lose weight unintentionally. So we want to make sure that you're able to nourish yourself. Hopefully there's support, maybe it's a spouse or a family member or a friend that can help you. Maybe it's eating smaller, more frequent meals so that you can get all the nutrition you need without getting too tired. Or maybe it's right after you eat. Maybe breakfast is your best meal of the day. You can eat more. So we want to capitalize on that. Or maybe it's after a nap or something where you really have more energy to put into nourishing yourself.
Wow. And you never think about the energy that it takes to eat.
Definitely.
And that's a big factor because especially with patients with sarcoidosis, I mean, sometimes all we have is trying to get that energy. So I do understand that. So what effect can the medications to treat sarcoidosis have on nutrition?
Sure. So that's a big one with sarcoidosis and nutrition is the medication. And a lot of times it's through steroid therapy. And the first thing is a lot of people, they know that these side effects are out there and maybe they're a little uneasy about taking that medication. So I would always say, bring up those concerns with your doctor right away. Don't get home with that script and say, I'm not going to do this because I don't want to have these side effects. Talk it through with your doctor. If that's what you need to stay healthy, you need it. And that's really the time to address that before you leave the office.
Right.
So let's say that's the the medication you need. It affects people in all different ways.
True.
So, and the dosage and how much and how often and how long you're on the medication. Some of the things that it can cause is increased appetite.
Yes.
So, so that's a big one, and that's something that a lot of people fear.
Right.
Yeah.
And they won't eat because of that.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. So it has a lot of nervousness around food and stress around food already kind of built in.
Okay.
And then, of course, with increased appetite, weight gain can occur. Water retention can also play a part in that weight gain. Not to mention, it can, give you difficulty sleeping, muscle weakness, a lot of things that still affect your food. It affects your exercise, which again affects the weight.
Yes.
So I know those are really important parts.
Yes, it is.
So we can talk about those today and how we can address those.
Okay.
Other things that the medication may do is elevate blood sugars. So whether you're a diabetic or not a diabetic, either way, it's still important to keep tabs on that and how that's going. It can cause high blood pressure, that hypertension, even the irritability and the mood swings that can occur from that. It's important because it goes into eating as well. Everything affects your eating.
Everything is eat. It affects your food and your appetite, and you're right. I mean, it's just something. So how can I control my weight if I have an increased appetite from the medication? Because prednisone can definitely increase your appetite tremendously.
Yeah. So the first tip I would say is to eat small, frequent meals. So this isn't increasing how often you're eating the large meals. It's kind of spreading those calories out throughout the day. This is going to help you feel satisfied throughout the day. So if you're normally someone that eats 1 or 2 meals, I would bet that you get home for dinner and you're starving. Whenever we set ourselves up in that situation, we may overeat, we may eat very quickly, and our brain and our stomach work on that delay. So our brain can be saying, hungry, hungry, feed me, and then our stomach maybe 20 minutes later is like, oh, that was just too much. So really to address that, if we can slow it down, eat throughout the day, it's really going to help. A lot of people are nervous, if I'm eating all day, I'm going to be gaining weight, I'm going to be adding calories, but it's really about spreading those calories out. And it's interesting that people generally eat less caloric amounts when they eat more frequently.
So when you say more frequently, just out of curiosity, are you talking maybe every couple of hours, every 2 or 3 hours, something like that?
So it depends on the person, but I generally recommend to start with every 3 to 4 hours. That may be 3 meals and a snack, or maybe it's 3 meals and 2 snacks, and it just depends. It depends on your work schedule. It depends on when you're able to eat. A lot of people are kind of told lunch is at 12 o'clock.
Yes, right.
So as best we can to really make that fit for the lifestyle. So that's where, meeting with someone individually can really help, because it's really your job, your family situation, your home situation, all of those things play into when and how much you can eat.
Right, because everybody is different. You're right.
Sure.
So if my blood sugars are elevated, what should I be eating?
Sure. So I do like to use this My Plate graph just to kind of help with meal planning.
Okay.
So it is important for everybody to have all of the food groups. When you are suffering with higher blood sugars, we do want to focus more on the protein, vegetables. Those don't have as much sugar in them.
Okay.
Whereas the ones on the top here, the fruits, the grains, the dairy, all contain sugar.
Okay.
Doesn't mean you can't have those. It's just really important to be aware.
Okay.
I know that there's a lot of, let's say, smoothies that boast that they put a pound of fruit into that smoothie, which is great. It's all natural sugar. But again, a pound of fruit, that's a ton of sugar.
Yes.
And if your blood sugars are elevated, it's just going to impact them in more of a negative way.
Okay.
So it's really about keeping that blood sugar steady. So if you have elevated blood sugars or diabetes, it's the same thing. We just want to keep you on that consistency. So again, eating throughout the day, because if you're eating 2 large meals, the amount of sugar in those meals is going to be a lot higher than if you had spread it out throughout the day. Because what we want to do is allow your insulin, which is that hormone that takes that sugar and gives it to your cells to use as energy, because that's what it is. The sugar, the carbohydrates, that's our energy source.
Okay.
So we want to be able to help our insulin keep up with that sugar.
Right.
So if we maybe have smaller meals that our insulin can keep up better, our blood sugars are going to look a lot better than if you have maybe 2 meals, your sugar's up here, your insulin's still down here, and you're getting that high blood sugar spike.
Okay, and that's a problem.
Right. So when you either test your blood sugar, pinprick on your finger with your glucometer, or your doctor's taking your blood and measuring that blood sugar, that's that point in time. But they're also looking at that A1C, and that A1C is over 3 months.
Okay.
So it's like 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, what your blood sugar is. So you can't outsmart the A1C. It's gonna, it's a very, very true number because it's that average. So that's what we're really looking at, to make sure that's in a healthy, normal range.
Okay.
To keep that steady.
It sounds like a lot of work just to, for food, but it's important though,
Sure.
And so the other thing is, how can I improve my energy for what I'm eating? Because I know that's a big thing. Sometimes you eat the wrong foods, I'm sure, the wrong food choices, and then your energy is very low. So how do you improve that?
Yeah, so it's a couple things. Eating throughout the day, again, that's very helpful because that's little energy bursts that you're going to have throughout the day. So that's important. We also want to make sure the composition of your meals is correct. So we want to make sure you're having a little bit of protein with each meal, because that helps you to feel fuller longer. It takes longer to digest. So that's going to keep you feeling energized for maybe 3 to 4 hours, whereas if we only have a piece of fruit, it's absorbed very quickly, we use that energy, we're tired again, or we need energy again. So the protein is really helpful in terms of helping with the portions of other things on the plate, and also filling us up. Now, by all means, I think most Americans get enough protein, but it's really about having it throughout the day. So really having it with each meal and snack, and it doesn't have to be a ton, just little bits throughout the day.
Okay.
I have another little
I was going to ask, did you have an example of that? Oh,
sure.
Nice.
So most people, you think protein, we're good to go. We've got our meats. So that's a great source of protein. But for snacks, you're probably not going to have a chicken breast.
You're not going to have that every
something
meal.
Like that. Exactly. And I wouldn't want you to either. So string cheese is a great source of protein. It really is.
Nice.
It's usually a low-fat mozzarella, something like that. So nice and filling, great snack. You can pair it with a piece of fruit or something like that. Greek yogurt, great source of protein. It's got twice as much protein as a normal yogurt, so it really packs a lot of protein. It also has that carbohydrate to give you that energy, so it's a really nice balance in itself. Hummus, one of my personal favorites.
Oh my gosh, I'm addicted.
Oh yeah, me too.
I'm addicted to hummus.
I love it.
I tell you.
Yeah, so it's made from chickpeas.
I love it.
It's a good source of protein. And then nuts. Great source of protein, heart-healthy fats, fiber, all those things that help you feel fuller longer, help maintain that energy over a longer period of time, so you don't have those spikes and then those declines in energy too.
Well, do you recommend any particular type of nuts? Because I know I like almonds and cashews. So,
well, that's the perfect way to do it, is to mix it up, because they each have higher amounts of vitamins and minerals depending on the nut. It's really important to pay attention to portion size, because that's where we can really quickly overeat. So I would say make sure you portion out first, whether it's a half a cup, quarter of a cup, because if you're eating it like popcorn, it can really add up in terms of calories without really feeling like you've had that much. So that's just something to keep in mind, so we don't overdo anything.
So I have a question about the hummus, though, because literally I am a hummus addict.
Sure.
So how much is too much for hummus? Because I really eat, I can get a container and I eat at least maybe it lasts me a couple days, sometimes one day. I am guilty of one day. So is that harmful because I'm eating so much hummus? And I use bean crackers or something like that that's really healthy. But I am really hooked on that stuff, and I hope that I'm not overdoing it.
Well, it is possible to overdo it on anything. We can overdo it on baby carrots. We can overdo it on water. Really that variety is what's going to give us the best nutrition. So usually, a quarter cup, again, is about my portion that I would say. And maybe you have it in the house, so it's not variety every single day, but over a week or a month, really getting that variety. But I think it's a great snack because it does have the protein, it does have the fiber, it's made with olive oil, so you've got that heart-healthy fat. So it's really satisfying, tasty. It's a good way to get veggies in as well for snacks. Dip them in there, sugar snap peas, baby carrots. So
celery.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's a really good way of getting that in too. So I think it's possible to overdo it, but I think it's a good choice for sure.
Well, you just made me feel better because I thought I had to go to like a hummus addiction meeting.
It is. It's excellent. I'm a big fan.
Exactly. So what supplements can help with inflammation? Because, with sarcoidosis, it's inflammatory illness. And So what can you guys do to help us with that?
Yeah, so a couple things with supplements. I'm really cautious because it is possible to overdo supplements. We don't want to go to those toxic levels.
Right.
It's also important, most people that I see are deficient in vitamin D,
Right.
so that's one the doctor usually screens for the most part, but it's really good just to get that whole picture, get that map of what that looks like.
So in your office, is there a charge for that test that you guys do at the office, or does insurance pay for that?
Sure. So insurance does pay for part of it. There is a copay involved, and that goes through the lab that we use. But there isn't a charge, for our phlebotomist to take the blood at our office. So it's a really nice perk to offer to our clients.
Yes.
One-stop shop. Come in, get your blood tested. Maybe you have your appointment with your dietitian that day. You get the lab work in maybe 3 or 4 weeks later. We can go over it, and if we need to, we can go to supplements. If we can, I always like to start with food. Let's increase the foods in vitamin K and get that nice and high for you, whatever the case might be.
Okay, that's very interesting. So what antioxidants can help me, and how can they help me?
Sure. So antioxidants are really helpful no matter with sarcoidosis, whether it's to strengthen the immune system, which can be another thing with steroids, is that it really can diminish that immune system. Also prevent other chronic diseases, cancer, heart disease. So it's really important that we get enough antioxidants. And what they do is they help repair the small damage at a cellular level from everything from just the processes going on in our body to environmental causes like pollution, or even healthy things like exercise, really to help reduce that oxidation going on in our body. So the antioxidants, the best way to think about it is those bright colors of fruits and vegetables.
Yes.
So if we can get a good variety, again, that's where it comes in, because each color is going to have its own nutrients. So if we can get those deep purples, eggplant, great one. The deep reds, you get the tomatoes, strawberries, watermelon, all the way to even white, cauliflower, garlic, onions, and the greens. If we can get majority of those, because they offer calcium, they offer a lot of other nutrients that are really important. So the kale, the spinach, the darker the better.
All that I love.
Great.
All of the above, right, yes.
And for people who don't like these fruits and vegetables, I can always find a way to make it work for them. Whether it's maybe we can do smoothies. Maybe we can do roasted vegetables. That's a way that a lot of kids end up liking.
Now you're making me hungry.
I know. I'm talking about food all day. It's a great way to go into lunch after talking about food.
Right.
But really finding ways that work for you, and not being afraid to use a little butter, a little seasoning to flavor our foods, because that does increase the taste for it and the moisture in the foods too. So that doesn't diminish how nutritious it is for you. So I always like to point that out too, that it doesn't have to be just steamed broccoli to get that nutrition. We can really mix it up, make it enjoyable and tasty and a way of life rather than a punishment.
And you can eat it raw as well, right?
With your hummus.
Yeah, that's what I do. You see I'm going there again, right? I told you I'm addicted to it. So our plate really should look colorful. And if it's not colorful, then we're definitely leaving something out.
Yeah, I call it the beige plate. You have the mashed potatoes, the chicken with the gravy, and maybe the stuffing. We really need to infuse some color. So maybe it's with a salad or a soup. Maybe that's a good way to get some vibrance in there, get those antioxidants. Another important thing is that all of these antioxidants work together to prevent disease, improve immune health, improve inflammation. Yeah, so if we take a look, I just want to show you here, like a carrot, for example. A carrot might contain over 100 phytochemicals, which includes those antioxidants. So if we're just taking, a vitamin C or a vitamin K tablet, we're getting that one nutrient. But if we're eating a carrot, we're getting a lot more. Not to mention the fiber that's also in that carrot. That's going to be filling and help us with our hunger and our fullness as well. So it's the carrots or maybe the 100 phytochemicals isolated. So really want to increase those whole foods so that you get all of those benefits and all of those nutrients.
And carrots are great, So what are whole grains?
Sure. So whole grains are another way to help stabilize those blood sugars, which may be elevated from the steroids. Fiber in the whole grains is what helps to slow that down, because it's digested more over maybe 3 to 4 hours as opposed to, pretty soon after eating. So it helps to fill us up, stabilize the blood sugars, and really add a lot more nutrition to those grains. So I do have a little picture here of the whole grain.
Nice.
So if you can see this little white part here, that's the only part that's available in a refined grain. They pretty much take the bran over here and the germ, and they throw it away. And that's the part that has more of the fiber, the protein, the heart-healthy fats. Again, all those things that fill us up a little bit more and slow down the blood sugar. So we really want to focus on those whole grains to get those benefits.
Okay.
So I also have a little nutrition label here. So on this side, I have a whole wheat label, and this side, I have a refined bread, a white bread label. So if we look under fiber, the white bread has less than 1 gram.
Yes.
Whereas the whole grain has 6 grams of fiber.
Wow.
So I'm looking
Big
about,
difference.
3 to 4 I think is great. 6 even better. Don't want to go too much too fast because you may have some gastrointestinal upset if you're not used to it. So really go slow.
Okay.
But other things that it has is the protein, 7 grams, 3 grams on this white bread. So there's a lot of difference that you can find between these.
So you really have to spend time in a grocery store, wherever you shop, to look at the labels on the back.
Well, once you get your brand, you know, and you're good to go. So it does take a little bit of time to kind of make that switch.
Exactly.
And if you have kids in the house that are, you know, this bread is brown, I'm not doing this bread. You know, you can find, you know, white wheat and things to kind of make that transition.
I've seen that in the store. Yeah. Oh, they have white grain now. You know.
Yeah. So not always because it's brown is it whole wheat, and not always because it's white does it not have that fiber. So as long as you can read the nutrition label, they can put whatever they want on the front. So and that's what I do with my clients, is really kind of show them these things and find their bread and find their crackers and find their cereal that they want to use to make sure that it's got the best nutrition for them.
Nice. So what are omega-3 fatty acids? I know that's a big one. And how can, you know, we as viewers get more of that in?
Sure. So with sarcoidosis, we're really looking at lowering that inflammation. And the omega-3 fatty acids are really going to help with that. It also helps lower cholesterol and is just good for overall brain health. So the best source is probably through fatty fish. And I just have a couple options here. So you can do the salmon.
I love it.
Arctic char, halibut, mackerel, sardines, anchovies, black cod, tuna, oysters. So those are all really good sources. You can also get them through other foods such as flaxseed. You can add it to your smoothies, chia seeds. Walnuts are another good source of omega-3s. And if you're not a fish person, it is possible to take a supplement. Again, always going over this with your doctor, depending on what other medications you're on, because it can cause a blood thinning effect. So I never want to just say omega-3 for everybody. We've really got to take a look at what's going on.
No, that's true. And so here's another big one. We hear about all these different spices. So what spices really help inflammation?
So the 3 that I always like to mention is that turmeric, ginger, and garlic. So those are nice anti-inflammatory spices that you can cook with. Just season soups and season your meats and season different things with, just to get a little added bonus for those anti-inflammatory effects. And again, it's a great way to add a lot of flavor to your meals without the addition of sodium. Because one thing that we had mentioned earlier was that the steroids can increase blood pressure, cause that hypertension. So we really want to make sure that we're going low on the sodium, but that doesn't mean you need plain chicken and plain everything.
You can spice it up a little bit with those great spices to help us with inflammation. And they're great. I use them all. They're great. So how can I tell if my foods that I'm eating are causing me inflammation?
Sure. So the anti-inflammatory diet is a lot of omega-3, heart-healthy fats, which also include, let me grab you a picture to show you, some of these other heart-healthy fats here from avocado, from nuts, from olive oil. So these will also help with that inflammation. And the spices are great as well. But there is some food sensitivities that I do like to mention, because maybe this anti-inflammatory diet isn't perfect for someone who may have sensitivities to these anti-inflammatory foods. So we do testing also in our office for food sensitivities. So it can test 150 foods and food chemicals, and from there we really see what you're most reactive to, what's causing inflammation in your body. And what's important is that food sensitivities can be delayed response, and it can also be dose dependent, which makes it really hard to tell what foods are causing you that inflammation without having some type of test to kind of guide us.
Okay.
So we like to use that just to, get started and really get our patients feeling healthy and happy. Really helps with pain, joint pain, that inflammation.
Goodness, that's a big one too.
Yeah, mood and depression and things like that. Even people with fibromyalgia, IBS, maybe some co-occurring factors that they might be having. Depending on their symptoms, it might be important for us to rule that out and check on that.
Wow. So we really eat to live.
Yes.
I mean, basically, because I mean, food is just so important to us regardless if you have health issues or not.
Sure.
I mean, it's the way of life. You have to make good choices. So before we end the show, is there anything else that you want to tell our viewers that they can really learn outside of all the other information that you have given us, which is very informative?
Sure.
Is there something else you'd like to share?
Yeah, so through our company, we have 5 dietitians.
Okay.
So we all have our own specialties, and it really helps us to individualize our care for our clients. We also have a great blog, which you'll see on our website.
Oh, nice.
So tons of free information, really good resources, and a newsletter that goes out. So we post up to maybe 5 blogs in a week. So it's really a good way to really break down what you're looking for. You can search, a topic that you're interested in, and really go from there.
Okay.
So we're happy to help any way we can.
That's great. So viewers, we want to thank Dana Magee for coming on the show today and giving us this fabulous information and life-saving information as well. Make sure you check out the credits to find out how you can contact her and her staff and everyone that can help us with eating the right things. And for all my fellow Sarcoidonians out there, I always say, we all have sarcoidosis, but sarcoidosis doesn't have us. Be well, live your life, stay positive, and until next time, we'll see you again, and thanks for watching.
Thank you very much
and
for having me.
And thanks for coming. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.